Hello and welcome to episode 63 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Of course, I am your host, Rick Doherty. Two of my absolute favorite people in the world will be on the show today. First, Sarah Says will be here to discuss a couple of big announcements from Walt Disney World. She's going to be going into some detail on Epcot's International Food and Wine Festival, which is coming to WDW later this year. And she'll go over the themes for the Run Disney Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend races happening early in 2023. To piggyback on the Run Disney conversation, my good friend Jillian is going to talk about her experience with the recent Springtime Surprise Weekend from earlier this month. Jillian took part in Sunrise Yoga at Magic Kingdom and the Expedition Everest 5K at Disney's Animal Kingdom. I'll add my impressions of the Tower of Terror 10-miler from Springtime Surprise Weekend because I took part in that race. Right now, this is Sarah Says on Tall Guy Talks Travel. Take it away, Sarah.
Thanks, Rick. Many Walt Disney World regulars have taken to calling the time in between festivals at Epcot as being Diet Epcot. Well, in recent years, especially since the parks reopened in July of 2020, there has been less and less Diet Epcot. The recent announcement that Epcot's International Food and Wine Festival will be kicking off on July 14th, just 10 days after the end of the current festival, Epcot's International Flower and Garden Festival, means that the trend of nearly perpetual special events will continue. Food and Wine will last all the way to November 19th. As the first and possibly still the most popular of Epcot's festivals, Food and Wine contains a number of recognizable elements. There are the stars of the show, multiple food booths scattered throughout the World Showcase and stretching into other parts of Epcot. Some festival favorites from recent years include the blueberry and almond frangipane tart with creme fraiche at the Alps booth, the sriracha donut at the Donut Box, the pão de queijo, Brazilian cheese bread at the Brazilian booth, Le Cellier wild mushroom beef filet mignon with truffle butter sauce near Canada, and many, many more. Earth Eats has also provided some popular plant-based options, including the Impossible Burger Sliders and the Impossible 3-Bean Chili. Epcot's International Food and Wine Festival will also mark the return of the Eat to the Beat concert series at American Gardens Theater. To give some perspective on how long it has been since Eat to the Beat happened at Epcot, the 2019 version opened the same day as Walt Disney World opened the East Coast version of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge on August 29th. Due to the pandemic, the series did not take place in 2020 or 2021. The 2019 schedule included Smash Mouth, Tiffany, Mercy Me, Plain White Tees, Blue October, The Hooters, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, Boyz II Men, Sawyer Brown, Mark Willis, Taylor Dane, and one of Rick's favorite bands in the world, Everclear. It is likely that Eat to the Beat dining packages will also be returning with the return of the concert series itself. This package allows fans to have a great meal at Epcot while also securing seats for one of the concerts being held that particular night. For the kids, the festival also features the Scavenger Hunt, Remy's Hide and Squeak. Everyone's favorite gourmet cooking rat will be hiding throughout the World Showcase with some of the delicious ingredients he uses to create those amazing dishes. These scavenger hunts are a great way for everyone in the family to have something to do while roaming World Showcase, and completing the task will come with a Disney-related prize. To add more excitement to this year's version of Food and Wine, it will be the first time the festival will run with a legitimate roller coaster at Epcot. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is set to open on May 27th to the general public. Disney describes Cosmic Rewind with the following quote: "This family thrill attraction features the first ever reverse launch on a Disney coaster and is one of the longest enclosed coasters in the world. A new innovation from Walt Disney Imagineering, this coaster rotates 360 degrees so you can focus on the action." As I mentioned, Epcot's International Flower and Garden Festival will continue until the 4th of July, before making way for Epcot's International Food and Wine Festival, which runs July 14th through November 19th. We will have more information when it is available. Also on the horizon, Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend will take place January 5th through January 8th of 2023. Last week, Run Disney announced the themes for all 4 races and the 2 separate challenges. The 5K on January 5th will be themed to Pluto, with Chip and Dale serving as the hosts of the 10K on January 6th. and Donald and Daisy Duck as the inspiration for January 7th half marathon. Of course, Mickey and Minnie will close things out as the rightful spokesmice of the full marathon on January 8th. As always, there will be 2 other challenge medals for Goofy's Race and a Half Challenge, featuring the 13.1 miles on Saturday and 26.2 on Sunday. The Dopey Challenge is for those brave souls who are willing to tackle all 4 of the weekend's races for a total of 48.6 miles. What makes Marathon Weekend 2023 particularly special is the theme of 30 years running. Keeping that in mind, all of the races are giving off an early 90s vibe with bright colors and radical designs. Marathon Weekend races go on sale to the general public next Tuesday, April 19th. The 5K is $103.40. The 10K checks in at $146.04. The half marathon is $213.20. And the full marathon comes out to $218.53. Those of you looking to take part in the Goofy's Race and a Half Challenge will pay $431.73, and it will cost $660.92 for the Dopey Challenge. Right now, I'm going to hand things back over to our host, Rick Doherty, who will be talking a little bit about the Run Disney Springtime Surprise Weekend from earlier this month at Walt Disney World. I'm Sarah Says, and this is Tall Guy Talks Travel.
Thank you, Sarah. Before I move on to Jillian and more talk about Run Disney, I want to remind everyone that I am planning a 620-mile pilgrimage on the Ireland Way in just a few months to raise money and awareness for the nonprofit organization Break the Silence Against Domestic Violence. Many of you donated $1 per mile leading up to my Tower of Terror 10-miler during Springtime Surprise Weekend, and I really appreciate that. Those $10 donations really added up in my efforts with BTS ADV. Well, we thought it would be fun, especially for those of you who love earning a little bling for races, to have a Walk with Rick virtual 5K as an additional fundraiser for Break the Silence Against Domestic Violence. You can walk, run, or bike the 5K, but please consider signing up for the race by using the link in the description. Helping a great organization that empowers survivors doesn't take big steps like walking 1,000 kilometers in a foreign country. It can be done by doing something fun like this virtual 5K. If you just feel like donating without the running, that's fine as well. It would also be wonderful if you would share your pictures during the Walk with Rick virtual 5K by tagging me on Twitter at @Rick_ear or at TGTT Podcast. Now let's welcome Jillian back to the show to talk about Run Disney. Thanks for being here, Jillian.
No problem, bestie.
All right, so we're going to be talking a lot about Run Disney, the very recent springtime surprise weekend that included something really cool, and you got to experience this, and it is sunrise yoga at Magic Kingdom. What was the experience like? Run me through the entire thing.
Well, yeah, I had seen something about this years before when I was running. And I believe what I saw was a cast member event where they had cast members doing yoga in front of Cinderella's castle. And I was just like floored that was such a thing that could be done. So yeah, when I saw that it opened up for the springtime surprise, I was like, I'm doing this. I don't care how much it costs. And it was really awesome. It was pricey, not always for the faint of heart, the prices, but the experience that I had was completely worth it, and I will do it again.
So a lot of people don't realize how early you have to arrive for a lot of these Run Disney events, and this was no exception to that rule. You had to get there very, very early. Like the name says, it was sunrise yoga, but you have to get to the transportation, get into the theme park. What was that process like the morning of the event?
It was pretty easy. I would say that I arrived later than most, and I probably should not have done that. Check-in was by 5 a.m. Still dark as night out, and the event started at 5:30. I got there just before 5, and again, I probably should have gotten there a little early because I was running a little late. Was really afraid I wasn't going to get a good area, because that's what I heard. The earlier you get there, the better position you can get for yoga in front of the actual castle. And that's what I was worried about. I didn't want to be like back by the Emporium on Main Street on my yoga mat. But I did happen to get a really good spot. Check-in was easy. It wasn't like crowded like you expect every Disney event to be. It wasn't like just crowded, like, wall to wall people. But arriving there, you take the ferry, the monorails weren't running. People staying at the resorts either bust there. You park a ticket and transportation center and get on the ferry. Getting there was really easy. Parking was really easy. Like I said, it wasn't that crowded, but yeah, yes, it was still dark. Like sunrise yoga, I would say the sun was coming up as I was walking back to my car afterwards.
So first of all, that's interesting that they were running the ferry boat and not the monorail. I would have thought it would have been the other way around.
No, that's what I thought too. But they were only running the ferries.
What was the experience itself like? Were they giving you instructions on how to do the yoga? I'm not a yoga person, so I'm not in on any of the lingo. Was it guided yoga?
Yeah, and I even tried to Google this, and I couldn't. They didn't name them in any of the official Disney, advertisements for this. So sorry, I can't remember the names, but it was like this famous like couple that like does instructions together. And it was a guy and a girl, and I can't remember if they were married or not, but they were sitting, on the stage right in front of the castle. And they actually had little assistants on risers throughout the area, and like the hub grass and everything around the castle. They had like 2 or 3 little instructors on risers to help guide you through. But it was really easy. Anybody could do it. Like, I'm a plus size gal, and they made it really simple and easy and nothing too complicated, beginner stuff, but it was really nice. Like, I don't know, like it was really nice and serene, and they had beautiful music playing throughout, and they both talked in very calm voices, and very simple instructions. And I tried to film most of it with my camera, but my camera cut off. But I was really like zenned out. I was really feeling pretty blissful afterwards.
So with the hefty price tag, you got the event itself, of course, but what else did you get in addition to just being there and getting the instruction?
You got a little mini bottle of water. It wasn't a full bottle of water. And you got a yoga mat, your own yoga mat that you got to keep, with a not personalized, but it had the Run Disney logo yoga mat carrier with a handle, the strap on it that you could put your yoga mat in after you were done. So basically, yeah, the yoga mat and the carrier.
I mean, that's really all you can expect. That's a pretty cool walk-away prize to get with such an event. And I'm sure that it was mostly about being there in an almost empty park with just the other people who were doing this sunrise yoga. Like you said, sort of zenning out, if you will, on the hub grass in front of Cinderella Castle. It must have been a really, really cool experience.
It really was. Yeah, the mat, that was just a bonus. But yeah, I definitely was there for the experience itself. And anytime they do this again, I mean, for me, my personal opinion, I will be doing this anytime they open up this event again.
So then you were there also for one of the races on Springtime Surprise Weekend. And with that came going to the Run Disney Expo. I lucked out. I did the Tower of Terror 10-miler, so I was able to go actually with you again on Saturday when almost everybody had already picked through all the merchandise and had a chance to be there. But you had to be there at the very beginning because you were doing the Expedition Everest 5K. What was it like at the Run Disney Expo?
Well, first of all, I need to explain the Thursday that all happened was a very long day. I drove up to Orlando Wednesday night, checked into my hotel late Wednesday night, had to be up for yoga at 4 a.m., did yoga at 5 a.m., then almost forgot I had to be at the expo when it opened up at 10 because, of course, I had to get my bib, my packet pickup, before the race that was at 10 p.m. that same night of the day that I did yoga. So I had to rush back to the expo again. The only thing I had a problem with, bid packet pickup was fine. They do the same thing. They funnel you into the one building for your packet pickup, and then to the next building to get your shirt. And then if you want to get the actual merchandise, it's in the building even farther down on the way out of ESPN. And I had to see the merch, but the only problem that I had, and you had to have seen the video that I posted of this on Twitter, was that they had like almost the only thing I can compare it to was a Halloween Horror Nights-esque queue just to go in its own like warehouse building just to get in to see the merchandise. And like, I couldn't wait. So I was like, I can't do this. I sat there for like 5 minutes and I was like, I'm not doing this just to look at the merchandise. So I walked out, but somebody saw me looking all sad at the exit and let me sneak in the exit.
And we're going to stop this story right there because we don't want to get anybody in trouble for doing something nice for Jillian. So we appreciate that. But what were some of the things that you picked up at the expo? How packed was it when you were there?
I've been to a million of these things and it was no different. It was wall-to-wall people, arms full of stuff all over the place, running around from shelf to shelf. I definitely missed out by the time I got there, even though it had only been open for like 2 hours, I think, by the time I got there. There was a fair amount of merchandise I never got to lay eyes on that I've only seen, through resellers on eBay. I got a finisher pin for myself, and I got a finisher pin for my best friend.
Yes, thank you
race.
So much.
And that's really it. I mean, by the time me and you went, there was a lot more stuff when I was there than, the next day when me and you went. I am kind of bummed that there's a couple things that I saw that existed that I didn't know about.
I actually got lucky and was able to get a plain black Run Disney shirt that is that dry fit material that was in a 3XL because I didn't know what I was going to wear to run that race. And I always want to look good in the pictures, and I never look good in the stupid Run Disney pictures. I always look like a hot mess, and one of the reasons is because when I was really, really active in running, when I was hitting PRs, when I was doing half marathons all the time, running a race every weekend, I was skinnier than I am now. So a lot of those shirts are a little tight on me. So when I lift my arms up to do the flexing muscles thing, when I'm getting my picture taken while running, well, the shirt comes up and then that's a mess. So I finally got a really big 3XL dry fit shirt. It was super baggy on me, but it didn't make me look big because it was baggy because it's black and you're running
and it's slimming
before the sun comes up too. So you just sort of run into the background a little bit. Great shirt. So happy that it was available. I wear it a lot now, honestly. But yeah, by the time I got there on Saturday, it had been picked clean. There were like a couple magnets and generic Run Disney shirts or mediums of everything else.
Yeah, yep. Our sizes are the ones that run out the fastest.
I honestly think it's the big sizes and the small sizes that they never do the right number. And this isn't just a Disney thing. This is absolutely everywhere. They assume that everybody wears a large or a medium, and everybody else, they just do not care about them. So then you took a little bit of a nap, I believe, right? You were smart and took a nap.
Yeah, I did. Before the race, I was able to get a few hours.
And then you did the Expedition Everest 5K at Animal Kingdom. But boy, there was a lot of drama going into that.
Yeah, I was not a happy camper. The race started at 10, and I pulled up to, Animal Kingdom parking at 8:45. And I did not get to my corral until 5 minutes to 10. Yeah, was not happy about that experience. Just about when I was about to get to my parking row, finally, like after an hour, I heard the race announcers from the corrals from my car then announce, I hear inclement weather, And I was like, oh no, oh no. So I roll down the window and get to hear from my car that they're modifying the course, which means they're shortening the course because of inclement weather, meaning they have to shorten the time of the race and everything else. So there was supposed to be a scavenger hunt that we were supposed to do on our phones, which is the point of these races. The Everest Challenge 5K was a race that they used to do every year, and they stopped doing them in 2015, and actually was the first ever 5K live 5K that I finished as a runner in 2014. So I love this race, and that's why I did this as soon as I heard they announced they were bringing it back this year. But yeah, getting in there was not a great experience, and yeah, I took me an hour, a little over an hour, to get to my corral.
And that weekend, when she says inclement weather, it wasn't just regular Florida 3:00 in the afternoon storms.
No.
On Saturday, we were at Disney Springs, and I posted this picture on my Twitter, and I know a lot of you saw it because I got a lot of reactions to it. We were at Disney Springs. We ate at some of the food trucks. By the way, the food trucks were phenomenal. We'll have to talk about both of those some other time.
Yeah.
We were eating at the food trucks at Disney Springs, and it started pouring to the point that we ran into Candy Cauldron. And while we were in Candy Cauldron, it poured so much that there was this cute little rat that started climbing on the outside of the door to try to get out of the rain. Like the rat, this was like Noah level rain.
Literally abandoning ship. That's what rats were known to do back in those times.
It was a weekend that was full of momentary torrential downpours, and there was lightning in the area. They ended up having to shorten the race, as Jillian mentioned, but once you actually got there, there were some really, really cool views and some really great experiences that you had once you started running.
Oh yeah, because the whole first mile is in the parking lot, right? There's only so much property. So, but they have, speakers and lights, playing, fun music and everything. So that's okay. But like you get to run the whole remainder of the race through Animal Kingdom, like all the parts of Animal Kingdom, everywhere you get to run through and see everything. And they had character stops too, but I'm a slow runner and I couldn't stop for any of the character stops. They had all the characters like, the Fab Five in their safari gear, stuff like that. But yeah, I couldn't stop for any of those. But just, again, this was my first ever completed race ever when I started running. So that is the whole experience for me, to be able to look up when you're doing this monumental thing to your body and you feel like, I want to stop, I want to die. But you look up and like you're looking at Everest, or you're looking at Spaceship Earth, or you're running by the castle. It is magical to me, and it gets you through the whole run feeling amazing. That's the way it's always been for me once you're in those races, once they get started. All anxiety aside.
And you were running this race, and so was our mutual friend Marissa, and she posted, because I was trying to follow both of you to try to make sure everybody made it through okay, especially when I found out there was bad weather. And she posted video of running through Pandora while it was still dark. What was that like for you?
Oh, you've seen it when you're in it and it's dark. It's amazing. But again, it's just another like a glorious thing to behold when you're running and you're huffing and you're puffing, but you look up and everything's glowing. And, these beautiful greens and blues and purples, and the ambient background noise of Pandora, Moara. It's gorgeous. You run past the floating rocks and the waterfall and all of that, and you just you almost want to stop, but you've got to keep your time. That's what sucks about running. But it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but glorious. It really is a sight to behold when you're doing something like that.
I got so excited when I first saw the course for the Tower of Terror 10-miler, because I signed up for it. Initially, we were planning on just doing this 5K together, and that was all I was going to do for Springtime Surprise Weekend. But even though I was in the queue online before Jillian. Somehow she got through and was able to register for the 5K before me. And by the time I got through, the 5K was sold out. And I'm a masochist, I guess. So I decided if I can't do 3.1 miles, I know I'll show Disney I'll pay twice as much to run 3 times as much. So I did the Tower of Terror 10 miler, and the course was awesome. Like you said, the first mile is basically just parking lot. You don't really hit mile 1 until you're almost in Epcot. And then we ran around World Showcase, which was one of the coolest moments of my entire life, was running around World Showcase before the sun came up in the morning, in the dark, with the torches, running past the China Pavilion with all those lights going. And then we ran past the boardwalk and into Hollywood Studios, where we got to run through Batuu. And like you were saying, you wanted to stop in Pandora, and that was actually a spot where I did stop. I told myself I was going to run the whole way through Batuu and just soak it in while running, but there was a short line for the photo op in front of the X-Wing, and I'm like, this is going to be the only short photo op I get on this race, so I'm going to do that. Actually, I was really upset because before we even hit a mile, when I was still worried about what my time was going to be, I didn't actually have to worry about my time. I found out later, but you're still kind of worried about it when you start.
Always.
Because you don't really know exactly what is going to be the situation.
Always.
In that first mile, Chip and Dale in tuxedos.
Oh yes, I forgot. You were very upset about this. I'm sorry.
And I'm like, do I stop? Like, do I have enough time? I almost wanted to go back. Like, I was like, I got time. I'll run back now. I'll run like 6 miles back now. But we were like 4.5 miles, almost 5 miles until we exited Hollywood Studios. We hit the 5-mile marker right outside of Hollywood Studios. So we were experiencing just gorgeous views, either in a theme park or running past Boardwalk Resort for the first 5 miles of this 10-mile race. And the next 4 miles were just on roads, and you weren't seeing anything. So once the race got hard, that is when the visuals just sort of dropped off for you. And then mile 9 was in Epcot. But that was definitely a unique course. It'll be fun to see what happens as they do Springtime Surprise more. Basically, the theme is that there is no theme, and every year they're going to change it up. So we don't know what it's going to be like next year. Boy, if they keep the course the same that they kept it for the Tower of Terror 10-miler and you're running through Batuu, that's special. It's just really, really special. Somebody who did the challenge got to run through Pandora and Batuu in the same weekend, and that's pretty awesome.
They shouldn't change that course. I think it's perfect the way it is. I mean, who wouldn't want to see those things when they're running?
Or they could reverse it so that the last 4 miles, the last 5 miles are when you're running through some of this really, really fun stuff. But I'm not going to be an armchair quarterback here. What I am going to say is, no matter how many times I finish a Run Disney race and say I'm never doing this again, I'm always lying to myself. I finished that race and I was in so much pain. I had been working a job where I hurt my back and I was dealing with a lot of stuff going into that. And I finished and I was just in absolute pain. And I'm like, I'll never do this again. We had park pass reservations, Jillian and I, that day. And I just said, we're just going to go to All-Star Movies and chill out in the food court. But I had a lunch reservation. And by that lunch reservation, I was planning my marathon weekend. So every time they sucker me in, because it is such a fantastic event, we tend to get a little bit, Jillian and I especially, because we can go a lot more than other people. We get spoiled, and these Run Disney weekends remind me every time why I love Disney. When I was running into Batu during this Run Disney race, it reminded me of like the first time I went to Batu. It reminded me of August 29th, 2019, opening of Batu when I got there at like 2:30 in the morning. We got into the park at like 4 o'clock in the morning or something absurd like that. It reminded me of seeing the land for the first time when I was running through it for the first time.
It was definitely something that I reclaimed for myself as well, because like I said, this is how I started my running tenure, was with Run Disney and this specific race, the Everest Challenge. And it was important to me. I hadn't run in 2 years. I hadn't mentioned that previously. I hadn't run in two. I mean, you knew this, but I hadn't run in 2 years. But it was important to me, and it brought back those same feelings that make me want to, get back into this and get up and get back on the road. And all those same feelings of the first time I was there doing this race in 2014. So, yeah, it's definitely the same sentiment that you just talked about.
And now seeing the Chippendale theme for the Marathon Weekend 10K, I know I have to do that one. And I'm already talking with some people about doing the Princess Half Marathon. We're trying to talk Jillian into getting back to a half marathon. I think she can do it. I think everybody should blow up the comments and tell her that she has to do it as well.
Oh, no. How can I ignore that?
But these events are just perfect. Disney doesn't always do everything perfect, but they pretty much knock them out of the park every year. Jillian, thank you so much for joining me once again.
No problem. Thank you.
Of course, I want to thank everyone who donated to break the silence against domestic violence in honor of my Tower of Terror 10-miler. I also want to thank my wife, Courtney, for being so supportive of me doing these crazy things on basically no sleep. I want to thank Sarah Says for sending me a text message of encouragement right before the race started, even though it was 1:45 in the morning where she lives. Most importantly, I want to thank Jillian, Marissa, and Natalie for hanging out with me at Walt Disney World that weekend, because your friendship and support is always appreciated. Finally, I'm actually leaving for a trip to Pennsylvania the day this episode is posted. As many of you know, I lived for many years in the Keystone State. I haven't been back there in 5 years, but I'm planning on seeing a lot of different travel-related things. There may even be a Disney-related excursion and another theme park visit on the horizon. Follow along on Twitter at Rick_Ear and at TGTT Podcast. This has been episode 63 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. We'll have another brand new episode next Thursday. Until then, have a great week.